All right, so for a box and whisker plot, you need to find a number of things about the data set, but really the first thing we want to do is order the data set. So we've got 0, and then probably good to cross them out as you do them. 1, and then there's 3, and then there's 4, and then there's 7, and then there's 8, and then there's 10. Okay, now how many numbers are in this data set? And before you count, just think about how many days of the week there are.
There's 7 days of the week.
7 days of the week. So if you were to put that above the numbers, the middle number is the 4th number, which just happens to be that one right there. So that's what's called the median. We did that in a previous lesson.
Yeah, middle.
You need that number for your box and whisker plot. Okay. Now, for the next thing you need for a box and whisker plot is you look at the numbers to the left of the median, 0, 1, and 3.
Yeah.
And you ask yourself, what is the median of these 3 numbers?
That's 1.
That's
and
1.
The other one would be 8.
The other one would be 8. So the 1 is what's called the 25th percentile, and the 8 is what's called the 75th percentile. You may have heard that with some standardized testing, or maybe your mom has talked about that, or it's talking about percentiles. We're not going to get into that. Okay, so we have enough now to make the graph of this box and whisker plot. Okay, so what I'm going to do down here, let me just get on just a tiny bit here, is I'm going to label, well, let me do this. I'm going to put 4, right here in the middle, so we know where we're starting. So I'm going to start up here. This is the median right here. You draw some sort of a line for the median.
Yeah.
And then the 25th percentile was 1, so we're going to go back 3, 2, 1. We're going to draw another line there. And then 8 is the 75th percentile, 5, 6, 7, 8. We're going to put another line there like that. And then you create a box, hence the word phrase box and whisker plot. So that's the box part. And it's good to have the axes labeled. That's why we're doing it. Okay. So we're not done though. We now have to graph the min and the max. So the smallest number is the min, the largest number is the max. So you need 5 numbers, but these don't get a line here. Instead, they get a dot right there at the end. And then 0 gets a dot right here at the end. And then you draw a horizontal, and that's the whisker part.
Yeah.
Did you cover these in class?
Yeah, we did.
Okay. I hope this is similar to what you saw in class.
This is exactly what we saw.
There are small variations when you get an even number of numbers instead of an odd number of numbers, but it's essentially the same. You have to find these 5 numbers and draw a box, and then draw a couple of whiskers. Any questions on that?
No.
Okay. Let's go back to number 1. And I think you were starting to say, hey Matthew, I don't think I did this right. And you would be correct.
Yeah, because it wouldn't make sense.
Well, you're used to your numbers always working out nicely or being friendly. Not always the case. Okay. All right. So 4 to the power of 2, you get to page 1. 4 to the power of 2. That means 4 times 4.
4 times. Yeah. So I don't
16.
know, but yeah, I knew that. So 16.
Yeah.
Okay,
are you still doing rocket math?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, hopefully you've got some exponent problems that you can work through. You got to get like where you associate what to do with those. What is 16 plus 6?
16 plus 6 is 22.
Okay.
Divided by 11, it's 2.
It's 2. Now they should work out nicely for you, but you know, the more you do math, the more you get comfortable with the idea that maybe it won't work out nicely. So
2
we'll,
times 4 is 8.
yes.
8. Is it 1?
Yes, because it's 16 minus 15, and that's 1.
All right.
Any questions on that before we go into,
No.
I guess we did them kind of in the wrong order. They're supposed to go left to right before they go top to bottom, but
Yeah.
it's okay. All right, so this one you got to work the parentheses first.
And you do 7 times 7.
Yes, very good. Which is 49.
50 minus 49 times 3. All right.
What is 50 minus 49?
50 minus 49 is 1.
1. Okay. And then you just have to decide, do you add or multiply?
Yeah, you multiply?
Yes. So you multiply first. 14 plus 3 is 17. And that's your final answer. Any questions on that? I mean, I guess we could do a few more. We'll probably have some time at the end.
No.
Okay, so let's go to page 2 and we'll talk about each of these. Probably have to go through them kind of separately for now. Number 1 on page 2 is 2.07. And to start, you have to decide whether this number is in standard form, expanded form, or words. And this one is in standard form. Okay, now if it's unclear, if you go back to page 1, your instructor is trying to help you out here by explaining the difference between them.
Yeah.
Standard form, expanded form, and so on. So let me snip that in here. So standard form is like what we're used to. You and I have been working on problems in standard form for months now. Okay. Expanded form, that's, we don't use this very often, but it is helpful in some contexts. It's when you break it apart into each of the decimal places. So this isn't a great example of it. Maybe let me give you an example of a much larger number, like 112.34. This is 10 plus 2 plus 0.3 plus 0.04. So you break apart
expanded form. Yeah.
Yeah, each of the places.
The next one would be, so for number 2 would be expanded form.
Right now, but what we have to do in number 1 though is we have to write it in expanded form. You have to write it in 2 plus 0.07 for expanded form. That's part of it. It says to write each thing in each of the forms.
Okay.
All right. And like, why would you ever do this? I don't have a good answer. I really don't. But in programming, you would sometimes do this, but it's very, very unusual at your stage in math. And then in words, you have to be able to write it out, and you have to use the words and, right? 2 and 7 hundredths, which is word form. So your instructor is looking for all 3 of those in each one. So if it were me as a student, I would go down to number 6 next because it's most like the one we just did. And then I might do 9 next because they're all decimals to start out.
Okay,
So do you maybe you've already gone on to number 2, but could we do number 6 together?
sure.
Okay, so let's do number 6, 1.037. This is standard form. Can you try writing it in expanded form for me, please?
Would it be 1 plus? Would that be 37 hundredths?
So the 0 you can skip, but it's 0.03 is the next one. And then it's 0.007. So let me try and show you this another way. It's 1.000.
Oh yeah, I get it.
Okay. You're gonna get another chance with 9, but it's important that you can do this.
Okay, that's expanded. No words, would it be?
And words. So the expanded leads to the words because it's 1
Yeah.
and then you do the next number, 300ths. You're probably graded on spelling. And 7 thousandths. Get it close.
Okay.
Let's try number 9 next.
Okay.
This will go much faster now that you've got this down. 6.11 is in standard form.
Okay, so 6 plus 0.1 plus 0.1.
Yeah, and I guess you're supposed to put zeros in front of the decimal. I'm very bad
Sorry,
at that.
0.01.
Yeah, I don't do it, and you should. It really is correct to do it that way. So that's expanded. And then word form, you have to actually spell out 6 and 1/10 and 1/100th. That's word form.
Okay.
Okay, so the other problems in that grouping are just variations on this. Let's actually look at 14, 15, 16, and 17 next, because I know those are probably the most unclear because of the story problem. So just snip them in, work them one at a time, and we'll see what we can go back to. Okay, your 7th and 8th ribs are 2 of the longest bones in your body. The average rib, 7th rib, is 9 45 inches long, and the average 8th rib is 9.06 inches long. Which bone is longer? So you have to be able to convert the number here, 9 45 to a decimal. So what I see is 9 and means plus. 45 hundredths is 0.45. Do you see that?
So the larger one would be the 9 45 hundredths.
Yeah, and that's the 8th rib. Now you don't have to actually determine how much longer it is, although you could. That would be a good question. Okay, but you just need to determine that it is in fact longer. Any questions on that?
No.
Okay. There's not really any work to do. It's more of, did you understand how to convert from words to a decimal? Why don't you read this one out loud for us, please?
Okay. The average female human heart weighs 9 3/10 ounces, while the average male heart weighs 11 1/10 ounces. Which human heart weighs less, the male or the female?
Okay, so
The
before you
female.
just, yeah, before you give me the answer though, let's make sure we can convert these. 9 3/10, and then the male is 11 1/10, which I actually didn't even know. I assumed they were closer, but maybe that makes sense. Could you give me those two decimals, please?
Okay. 9.03, or sorry, 9.3.
Good.
And the other one, 11.1.
Very good. Okay, so not that bad. Really not that
No.
bad. Okay. So when you're, and this maybe is a question for your mom, but when you, the rule I always remembered was if you're writing a number up to 100, you spell it out.
Mhm.
But there's probably some exceptions to that, and we'll see that in the next problem. But you may ask your mom. That is one of the reasons why you're learning to do this,
Mhm.
because you will not, like years. The year we live in is an exception. You probably don't, we rarely spell that out, but and this is money, so maybe that's an exception as well. Okay, so the state has 42.3 million for a new theater. The theater that an architect designed would cost 42.25 million. Can the theater be built for the amount the state can pay? Basically, this question is asking, is this number, what they have, greater than what they're going to spend?
No.
Okay,
Or
so before you answer, you have to line them up.
okay.
And what goes in the missing position when you line them up?
You put the 0.
Yeah. And I think well, I was working with SC student, and it's kind of a clever idea to cross out the numbers that are the same. I like that. And now you're just down to this last part.
It'd be 5/5.
Yeah, but so the 30 is bigger than the 25. So yes, they have enough.
Okay.
But another way to say this is 42.3 is greater than 42.25.
Okay.
And that's what's being asked in questions 10, 11, 12, and 13. We'll look at those if we've got time. You do want to make them all have the same number of places. That's key. Okay, let's look at 17. All right, will you read this one out loud for us, please?
Lynn traveled 79.47 miles on Saturday, 54.28 miles on Sunday, 65.5 miles on Monday, and 98.43 miles on Tuesday. Which day did she travel the greatest number of miles?
Yeah, so you're just looking for
She
the
was
biggest number.
98. So on Tuesday.
Yes. So that's it. I mean, there's no math to do here, unfortunately. Okay, so we should probably look at 10 through 12 or 10 through 13.
So would the largest be 3.875?
Yeah, so when they all have the same number of decimal positions, then you can just
Find the largest.
yeah, find the largest. Yeah. So I guess it's from least to greatest. So you just have to, these actually are already in the order.
Yeah.
So I guess just write them as is. All right. So like number 11, 11's actually they you also have the same, every number has the same number of decimal places. That's really important before you, and then you just compare them one by one, like the digits, like the
The
0.
largest one is the middle one this time. Wouldn't it
Yeah,
be?
and so sometimes you just find the largest one. That's a good, and then you find the smallest one and then figure out what's in the middle.
Okay.
All right, so how about for number 12? What do you see there?
12.957
Is the largest?
is the largest. Yeah.
Well, what I would do here is I would actually write them all vertically, because you need to have the same number of decimal places to be able to answer this. So I would fill in those missing zeros.
Mm-hmm. So it would be 12.970.
Yes, that's the largest one. Okay, and then the smallest one is the 12.75.
Mm-hmm.
And then the middle one is the 12.957.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead and try that last one. I'm going to step away for 30 seconds, but I'll be right back. Go ahead and try that last
Okay.
one, please. Okay, what did you come up with here, August?
Oh, I got the 1.901.
Is the largest?
Yes.
Okay. So again, notice how when you draw them vertically like I did, sometimes it's easier to see,
Mm-hmm.
to compare them.
That's the largest one I see.
Okay, and what's the smallest?
Smallest 1.0. No, that
90?
wouldn't be. Yeah.
Yep. Okay, so what you can do at that point is you've got kind of the edges filled in. It's kind of like a puzzle. And then now you just look at the two remaining ones. You're like, well, which one's bigger? Which one's smaller?
Mm-hmm. The larger one would be the 1.900.
Yep,
And then the smaller one would be the 1.109
1.19.
or 1.1. Sorry.
Yeah, yeah. And you want to use the original numbers. You don't want to use the modified ones that we've added in, which is a small little thing, but something to keep in mind.
Okay.
All right. Well, let's see here. Let's just look at 3 and 4 and see if you can write those as decimals in standard form. Before we
Okay.
close out, because that would be my concern, that you can do that. 3 and 4, and then I think there was one other one. So go, and then number 8. So 3 and 3 and I'm sorry, 3 is 4 and 6/10. What would that number be as a decimal?
4.06.
So 6/10 is the first
Oh,
position
yeah,
after.
sorry.
Yeah. How about the next one?
16.5.
Very good. And then the last one, this is a little bit harder. It says 1800ths.
What do you do? 0.018 or 0.18?
Yeah,
Oh,
you
okay.
keep wanting to add a zero in there. Yeah, and that's why these
Yeah.
are a little bit tougher because we just don't use this language very often.
Mhm.
Okay, well, I think that's it for us for today. August, great job. Thanks for letting me help you. See you on Wednesday, and you just got a little bit to do. Probably take you 5 or 10 minutes to finish this worksheet up
Okay.
for tomorrow. Hope you have a great rest of your night.
All right.
See you next
Bye.
time. Bye.